What's been happening? What's the tea? What have we been thinking about recently? Mulling over in our minds. Any topic requests or suggestions? I have a video coming up about female bullying / female jealousy. I also have a video on, what was the other one? Oh, overcoming cringe and being perceived, because I got that question a lot. Yeah, let me know. Life currently, enjoying my 20s. Life is mundane, but it's routine. I love. Looking forward to the new day. Okay, I love that. Yeah. That's the thing. Like my whole my content is about being hot and having fun and finding joy and contentment and avoiding drama. So people never have gossip for me. I have to go outside of the vibe circle to get drama. Trying to think of my own mantra. A mantra that I had someone tell me that they use is like fit, financed, and fierce, which I think is great. Hot and having fun. What else? If anyone else has their own mantra, please share. Hi, Amber. Love your videos so much. Currently going through friendship breakups and navigating life changes. Your videos have been super helpful. Yeah, friend breakups are tough. I think I'm in the clear for now. I was like thinking about all the shit that I have been through since moving back to Shanghai. And it's so funny because like when I was in Australia, I was like, if I was just in Shanghai, like my life would be so much better. And it is in a lot of ways, but I completely overlooked like the complexities that come with living in a big city and working in the creative industry. But you live and you learn. How do you handle adults older than you trying to snub or belittle you for your age? How do you demand respect from the elders? So for me, I feel like there can be like a generation gap in thinking, and when you're dealing with someone who is obviously like demonstrating insecure behavior, you want to just appeal to their ego, in my opinion. Like you can't get everyone on the same page as you. That's what I learned in my 20s. And sometimes, you know, there is just like a game, a surface level game that you can play to make sure that your interests are protected rather than feeling like you need the respect of this older person to appeal to your ego. You can just switch it around, reverse Uno, and appeal to their ego in a way that ensures that, you know, they have the illusion of power, but you're still getting whatever you're trying to get out of the situation. So I'm imagining that this is maybe like a work situation. And yeah, I think a lot of people as they get older, they fear being sort of like out competed by people younger than them, or they fear that they can't command respect because people younger than them are smarter than them or more capable than them. So I think that appealing to that person's ego and being like, oh my God, thank you so much for your suggestion. Wow, that's a really great idea. And trying to lead them along like a child, basically, while still creating the illusion that you respect them as an elder, if that makes sense. Because, yeah, anyone that's like deeply entrenched in insecure behavior, especially if they're older than you, that's not something that they will get over. in a conversation. It's like a habit for them to see other people as a threat. So it's better for you to just appeal to their ego, in my opinion. Like, wow, I would really love your advice on something. What do you think about this? A lot of people just want to be seen, you know? Do you handle disrespectful comments disguised as friendly banter from coworkers? How do you handle disrespectful comments disguised as friendly banter from your coworkers? Just smile and nod, you know? Unless you're in a position where you have authority over them, which I'm assuming maybe you don't, um, just smile and nod. Who cares? Love you. Yeah. Just get your check, you know? I remember I was on a photo shoot once and I was doing a fitting, and the photographer for the fitting, like not even the photographer for the actual shoot, was like, "Do you think your skin is too dark?" She was like, "Do you think your skin is too dark for like Chinese beauty standards?" And I was like, "Well, I got the job, so as long as I'm still getting work, I don't really care." And I was about to be like, "I'm the one in front of the camera, not you, bitch." But I was just like, "No, do you think it's too dark?" Have you ever been ghosted by a super close friend without knowing the reason? If so, how did you navigate? Um, I have had girls try to like socially isolate me, but it was because they were insecure and dumb. Because in the end, they like came crawling back and tried to pretend that they didn't do what they did, um, and they still wanted something from me. I think that I have been the person to kind of like step back from a friendship in my 20s. I did this because the person that I was friends with, like, I'd sort of normalized a level of disrespect and dismissal from this person, um, because I don't know, like, we just were kind of like really close circumstantially. And I was dealing with a lot of like mental health issues, a lot of racism, a lot of misogyny, and that friend who was supposed to be my best friend like didn't really stand up for me. So I kind of like distanced myself from the friendship, and they took it really personally, obviously, and then played victim and tried to like make me feel guilty. And I didn't know how to communicate to them that I had like an issue with the friendship, because I knew that regardless, like we just weren't compatible anymore. And I don't know what your specific situation is. Um, but I think that you can offer, I guess if I was in that situation and I wanted to continue a friendship, I would offer and say, like, hey, do you want to catch up? Let's do something, blah, blah, blah. And see how they respond to your attempt to connect, right? And then if they, what is going on in my TikTok? And then if they reject your offer, you just go and focus on other things, you know, and see if they come back to you. Because personally, I don't believe in begging for a relationship with someone in any context, work, family, friendship, romantic. Like, you want to be able to meet people as equals and think about the relationships that you have where you're not begging for someone's attention or someone's care. Focus on those relationships, focus on building those relationships, because it is like this weird emotional manipulation tactic that people try to play. Like for me and my ex-friend, I communicated to her, like, I'm going through a lot right now. It's not you. Like, let me get back to you. I just like can't really talk about what I'm going through. And honestly, my frontal lobe wasn't formed at that age. So I did the best that I could. I could have done it better, but I didn't know better at the time. But that person then sort of like disrespected my communication by continuing to try to contact me and making it about them and like soothing their feelings as well. And that just made me even more annoyed because like that's not a healthy dynamic to be in. So personally, I feel like if you're able to make one last attempt, like even if someone else has fucked me over and I still want to give them an opportunity to show up in the friendship, I will make like one final attempt. And if that's not respected or they don't pick up what I'm putting down, it just means that it's not meant to be, you know. 22, dropped out of school while dealing with family mental health. Trash man issues. Your videos have helped me so much. We'll be thanking you at my graduation. Oh my God, love you. Stay in school, guys, unless you're going into debt, then get a job. T incoming. One of my college friends was in a seemingly loving relationship with her perfect man for 2 years. Recently found out he's been cheating on her from the start. Oh my God. Come to find out, he invited another lady to Vegas to hang out with him and his family while the girlfriend was at home. His family even told them what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I found out a few weeks ago the other lady was one of my old childhood classmates, who, mind you, is a known homewrecker that claims to be finding her peace and living her best life. Oh my God. Tale as old as time, guys. I had a friend whose friend, similar age to me, I think, early 30s now, got married when she was in her 20s to a guy that was in his 30s, had 2 or 3 children with him. She comes from a wealthy family, but like she wasn't really working as a result of having children and wanting to just like live the soft life, opened like a random bookstore in my hometown, which I never see people inside of. And then one day her partner was out and then she saw messages on his iPad that were like, so like same time tomorrow, this is the price, blah, blah, blah. And she confronted him when he got home. He was like, oh my God, finally I have someone to talk to about this. He's been sleeping with sex workers their whole relationship every week since they started dating. Like every week of his like young adult to adult life, he had been sleeping with sex workers, and they have 3 children together and they were married. And I think now they're getting divorced. At first she tried to make it work, or I guess was in denial, and then eventually it was just like unsustainable. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I have a question. I often hear people talking about decentering men in our lives, but I'm bisexual, so in order to be happy on my own, do I need to decenter women too? Not sure if you have thoughts. Okay, I think decentering man is adjacent to decentering romance. So this idea that if you're in a romantic relationship, then your life has meaning, then you're complete, then you have value. If you can be desirable to the gender of the person or the people that you seek to be in relationships with, then you will be complete. But that's, not necessarily true. So decentering romance, I would say, is like recognizing that your relationship with yourself and your community is of equal importance to the potential or actual romantic relationships in your life. Does that make sense? But everyone's different. So, hi, babe. I'm on TikTok and YouTube Live at the same time, just by the way. Loved your cake and eat it too, vid. Yeah, lol. everybody wants to have their cake and eat it too, but not everyone wants to bake responsibly. Yeah. Decentering romance. I have a podcast episode called Decenter Everything. And that doesn't mean you don't have a core. It just means that you develop an awareness of all the different ideas that you've been conditioned to assume are going to like bring you happiness. The pursuit of this or that is going to make you happy. And just like questioning whether that's really the case, you know, and then you pick and choose what does and doesn't work for you instead of just assuming or internalizing somebody else's standards for your life without question. How about a guy that's good friends with another woman platonically, not exes? Is that a red flag, a yellow flag, or maybe a green one? I honestly don't know if I believe in like red flag, green flag discourse. I do think that there are very obvious red flags. But something like being friends with the opposite gender, it depends. Everybody has a different narrative around how and why they are friends with certain people. So I think that, you know, if the language around it is like, that's my girl, that's my bestie, blah, blah, blah. I think if men are ever like really dramatic, or no, like if it goes in extremes, they're like, oh, that's my girl, like blah, 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 blah. And there's like no sense of boundaries or like the relationship with that girl is always going to be more important than your relationship with them. I would maybe pause, you know, if the relationship is healthy with him and the girl bestie, then there is room for both of you in his life, right? It's not one or the other. If it's her over you, if you're being serious, then he's in love with her. But if it's like, and yeah, if she's not jealous of any romantic relationships that he gets into, you know, I would say that's a healthier dynamic. Some friends develop a sibling like relationship. Yeah, it just depends because, yeah, and if he speaks in the other extremes, like, oh no, like I would never get with her, nothing's ever happened, like blah blah, blah, that's also a red flag. Like, okay, you're obsessed with her. So you kind of want positive, neutral to positive. You know, he's like, yeah, yeah, we've been friends for a while. Really, she's really great, blah, blah, blah. That's it. He doesn't need to say too much, you know. Anytime men are talking too much, that's a that's a red flag in my opinion. That's a very fair assessment. Yeah, that's just my observation. If he like uses, sorry, there's construction next door. If the woman seems way too out of his league, um, like value wise and lifestyle wise, there's something going on. Okay. It's either going to crumble or um, someone's using someone or they're both using each other. Men only go off when they're hiding something, yes. Usually they're either silent or chill. Exactly. You know, they say that what is it? Like women communicate emotions and men communicate to solve problems. I don't know how many problems men have solved for me through their communication, but if the science is in fact true, if he's not talking to solve problems, make sure he's talking to solve problems and not create them, okay? Yeah. If he's not talking to solve problems, then he's creating them. Think about it that way. Oh my God, this construction. They're pragmatic in thinking. It doesn't mean their thought process solves anything. Yeah. Men are extremely emotionally reactive. Unless they have a higher purpose or goal in their life, they don't have anything to ground them. And that's not just men, that's women as well. A lot of women don't really have anything that they want to work towards or that they want to contribute. So their thinking and their behavior is not grounded in anything. So it makes them really emotionally reactive because their ego is not constructed around something that they have intentionally chosen. It's just internalized from the world around them and their conditioning, and it exists without question. So that's why I talk about decentering men, decentering romance, decentering the patriarchy, decentering women, decentering whatever, like decentering feminism, even, because sometimes you need to also question the source of your feminism and whether the ideas that you have around self-empowerment as a woman and female empowerment in general is actually aligned with the way that you behave and aligned with your best interests, because anything and everything will be co-opted if you're not careful. That lady that spent 10K on a matchmaker needs to decenter man. What? That's crazy. You could buy so much with 10K that would make you happier than being in a relationship with a man, I'll tell you that much. Yeah, I don't know. I had someone ask me on a recent video, like, can I do a hot girl dating tips video? And I've been thinking about it because I'm like, I guess I could do like advice I would give my younger self, dating advice I would give my younger self. But like, I'm so not in the dating game right now. I don't really know if anything that I say is of value. Hi, babe. I'm good. How are you? Matchmaking is wild. Basically, if Tinder was a person. Yeah. I think like it can work. I'm actually not totally anti matchmaking. I don't know about paying for the service. But I don't know. I think it's cute. Like if people know you and know another person and they set you up, that's like a great way to meet someone. Going to a matchmaker is giving medieval village. I feel like some of the advice girls share here tiptoe between misandry and still trying to appeal to men at the same time. Can you do a video on self-compassion? I've been struggling. Oh, okay. Firstly, I don't think that misandry is real, but I do understand what you mean in this context, because I know a lot of women who say that they hate men, but they don't actually hate men. They just resent men because men don't give them the attention that they think they deserve, or they don't give that girl the validation that she wants from men, so she just hates men. But ultimately, you want to get to a place of just indifference to men and like, okay, I interact with the men that I have mutually respectful and beneficial relationships with. And then the men that aren't that, I just don't care about, you know? I think that's a much healthier mindset to be in. Because honestly, I think a lot of men are like that. Men center men for the most part, and a lot of them are indifferent to women that they don't want to sexually pursue, or women that they don't want something from. You know, they don't bother with female validation, and that's how women need to be with men and also other women. But yeah, I don't know. Like my TikTok feed is really unhinged. It's mostly memes and mutuals that make content that's similar to mine, which I wouldn't characterize as man hating or misandry. I would say that it's just like presenting a very realistic view of men, or like lifting the veil to patriarchal conditioning. I think indifference is better than hating men. Hating men is still centering them. Men are just whatever, you know. Exactly. Recognizing that a man is just some guy. That's just some guy, okay? He probably has more unaddressed, repressed issues and trauma than you could ever even imagine, because they are not given or encouraged to have the tools to connect with their feelings in a healthy way. Because it's not that men don't have feelings. It's not that men are not emotional. They're just not taught how to be emotional in a healthy way. And like, you can't do that for them. That is an internal process that they need to learn to do. Whether they do it or not is not your responsibility. You can encourage them. Like any man that I know that's going through something, I'm always like, yeah, I'm here if you need me. If you want resources, I can give them to you. But they don't necessarily take up your offer because their ego is so fragile. They just think they can, like, I don't know, white knuckle through life. And I don't have that approach. But if that's how they want to live, then so be it. When men communicate frustration about women, it leads to violence or harmful rhetoric. Exactly. Okay, self-compassion. I think something that you can do is think about your younger self. You know, imagine baby you, innocent and pure in the way that they see the world and their relationships, and what you would say to your younger self to like soothe them or remind them that it's okay, or that like your adult self is now taking care of your inner child, because your inner child lives within you. That's like your spirit. And when you realize that a lot of people, or like everybody, is basically like an inner child wrapped in an adult body, you know, and people that are older that display like weird erratic behavior, they are usually like disconnected from their inner child. That's why they make passive aggressive comments at people, that why they're jealous, why they can become competitive or insecure. So when you have compassion and self-awareness around your inner child, and how like a lot of your reactive behavior comes from trying to protect your inner child, but then also like your adult ego, kind of, just learn to be kind with yourself and like acknowledge and accept how you feel, regardless of how crazy you might think it is in the context of what you're experiencing, because it's valid how you feel. But just because your feelings are valid doesn't mean that you have to react to them immediately. You know, I think that's a really important thing to realize as you get older, is like, yes, my feelings are valid, but I get to decide how I respond to my feelings, if that makes sense. Anger is the only acceptable emotion for men, hence why it's only expressed through that lens. Yes. I tried talking my brother into seeing therapy. He keeps saying he just can't talk to a stranger. Right. Yeah, a lot of people just are not willing to confront themselves. Even though it would be like so beneficial for them to do so, like so many of your problems just dissolve away when you take responsibility for how you feel and for like your own joy and happiness. You're just like, okay, it's not that deep. And when you don't internalize other people's problems, but yeah, I don't know. The mind of a man, truly a mysterious and fascinating place. I think if I didn't have like a podcast, I didn't make content around like relationships, and not, I don't mean like romantic relationships, I just mean like human connection in general, I would never speak to men unless I was getting paid. Like sometimes I only just talk to them because I'm like, this is market research for my content to get a male perspective. But even then, I can't say that it adds that much to what I end up talking about anyway. But for example, like I recently binged season 1 and 2 of Severance. So when I'm talking to people, we'll like talk about the show, and I'll ask people like, would you get the procedure? And it's always a man that says that they would. And I'm like, why do you think doing that would be a good idea? You watched the show, didn't you? You saw what Mark Scout and Mark S went through, and you still think you would get it? That's crazy. But that is male logic, you know, just split yourself from whatever, disassociate yourself from whatever you don't want to see or you don't want to feel, and then it doesn't exist. But it does exist in here. Okay. The body keeps the score and the psyche must be heard. Feminine men, however, usually toe the line between both frames of thinking. Yeah, the gays, basically. The girls and the gays get it. Men, they have to pay to play. How do you feel about dating men with a corn addiction? My ex was addicted to corn, and it made me nervous to date someone like this again. I feel like it's so common and normalized. Love you. Love you. Yeah, no, not going to happen for me. I would rather be alone. Sorry. Like, I've made peace with maybe never being in a relationship again because I don't want to deal with any of that shit. I don't have a corn addiction, so I don't want to be with someone that has that kind of problem. Seek help. You can find both women like and men like patterns of thinking, behavior in gay men. Yes. Healthily integrated gay men are at the apex of the capability pyramid in a patriarchal society, in my opinion, because they have male privilege and male competitiveness in a male dominated society. But if they, especially if they're out of the closet and they're like confident and comfortable in their own skin, then they also understand like femininity and have emotional intelligence as well. It's giving none, lol. Yeah, I understand why women go to the monastery now, you know, because why would you want to deal with men on a regular basis? You're so confident, it's inspiring. Thank you. I don't know, confidence is an ongoing process. There are lots of things I don't feel confident in that I am working on. My favorite movies. My favorite movie is Marie Antoinette, Sophia Coppola's Marie Antoinette. I don't know. I'm not a movie buff, so my favorite movies are like Devil Wears Prada, Ex Machina, gone girl. Anything where men are punished. If I was born in 1350, I'd rather be in London than anything else, period. Yeah. I think when you center yourself and you prioritize being hot and having fun, and you do that consistently, I would say minimum 1 year, you take responsibility for your own happiness and you start working through your traumas, you just naturally develop a very low bullshit tolerance. I don't want to have to carry the burden of another person's unresolved issues if I'm taking responsibility for my own unresolved issues, and I'm around people that do the same thing. Why would I want to date someone that can't do that? That's too much for me. I just want to have fun, But now you're dating a guy who has a million sexual relationships with his computer screen or his phone screen. It's just no. No husband, no kids, working for myself, hanging out with my nun besties, reading books, right? Iconic. Have you seen Westworld? Yes. I watched Westworld in 2023, I think. And I just rewatched the first season after watching season 1 and 2 of Severance. Very iconic. We stan Dolores. Just wondering, are you equally transparent with people in your everyday as the takes you share with us? Yeah. In what context? I think a lot of the things that I talk about on the internet, I don't really talk about that much in real life because not everybody wants to have a real conversation. But I do have friends where we keep it very real and we do talk about this kind of thing. But I think what I appreciate about being on the internet is that there is a space for me to think about and communicate these ideas in a way that's it's like an outlet and an exercise for me, more so than more than anything else, if that makes sense. But yeah, has anyone seen Westworld? Discuss. But yeah, I'm a very straightforward person. And the older I get, the more straightforward I want things to be, because I've had, or you develop more wisdom as a result of collecting different types of experiences. So if I'm faced with a person or an issue that's familiar to something that I've dealt with before, I'm very straightforward about how I want things to go, or what my thoughts are on the situation. But I will always leave space for other people to give me their input, or, we can come to a compromise, we can communicate through it. But usually I'm just look, these are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? This is what I would do. What do you want to do? Let's see if this is going to work out or not. I don't see the point in beating around the bush. Also, because now it's people know that I am straightforward. So you don't come to me unless you want a straightforward answer or solution. Okay. It's just a waste of both of our time. If I was not that type of person, fine. How should you deal with always being the placeholder friend till my friend finds a man? Get different friends. When you're younger, you feel I think it's easy to get into a mindset where you feel you've met all the people that you could possibly meet in your life, okay? Because you haven't been alive long enough. So You just feel like, oh yeah, this person's in my life and I've known them for this long and we're going to be friends forever. And if we're not friends, then I'll never make a new friend ever again. But in actual fact, the world is your oyster, okay? You will meet so many people in your life and you will have the opportunity to connect with so many people that you haven't met yet. So you will not be able to meet those people if you are in friendships or relationships with people who like drain your energy basically, or who take you for granted, or who don't appreciate you. So the best thing that you can do is start distancing yourself from those people and nurture or find people that you're on the same page as. Hi, Alice. Oh my God. Yeah, I've got to go soon though. Yoga is calling. I feel like my FYP, despite being 20, I've absorbed life experiences and advice from people like you. I actually can't believe you're only 20, babe. It's wisdom, pragmatism, dating men, a nun's guide. That's the AI suggestion. What the actual fuck? The audacity to be free. The woman who enraptured the 19th century Europe's greatest minds recounts her life. Slay. Okay, thank you for the recommendation. I think it's in German, but it's so good. Okay, slay. Thank you for the rec! My God. It's wisdom and pragmatism. What were we talking about? Yeah. If your friend is very male-centered, very dating and romance-centered, again, that's not something that just goes away overnight or through a conversation. So I think that, yeah, some people you can only engage with in superficial ways or about in specific contexts, and that's okay. You know, diversify your connections and your network, because you can't, it's hard to expect one person, one friend, to be able to understand and meet all of your friendship needs or understand your multidimensionality. Your multidimensionality can be expressed and explored in a number of relationships and not just one. Hope you're well. It's morning over there. I wanted to tell you the reason. You're the reason. Your videos and live TikTok has made me a better person. I now have better discernment. Bless you, Alice. It is morning. I'm going to go to yoga soon. How have you dealt with distancing from friends when you move to another country? I think that true, like, love in a platonic context and respect doesn't require like daily communication. When you're younger, I think that's something that you feel like if we're not talking, then we're not friends. But I think allowing there to be space, checking in every now and then, making sure you spend time together when you're in the same place, sharing memes and stuff like that. Like, I think that's, a good way to just maintain some contact. Because I think that, if you're supportive of each other, you're not going to demand that they take time from their life now to make you feel better and vice versa. So true friends would put up with random texts and regular-ish FaceTime calls to keep their relationship. Yeah. I think you realize that a lasting friendship, the grounds for it is similar values and like worldview. And those things will remain consistent even when you're not in the same place, you know? But when you move cities, you realize that some of your relationships are actually just circumstantial because you're in the same place. And across borders, you don't actually have shared values. You just needed like time and place to be able to be friends, but that doesn't always last forever, and that's okay. That's just part of life. Not every person that you meet is going to be in your life forever. And friend breakups do come with a lot of grief and also like a type of heartbreak as well. But that's just life, guys. Very hard lesson to learn, yeah. How do you deal with anxiety? Love your videos, they've helped me so much. Have you read Women Who Run with Wolves? Delves into womanhood, archetype, Jungian psychology. Wondering if anyone read it. Yes, I have read Women Who Run with Wolves, and I recommend it. I kind of didn't read it for a while because I was like, this title is so woo-woo to me. Even as someone who like is into like woo-woo stuff, I find that like woo-woo writing, especially from a feminist perspective, can be a bit alienating sometimes. But Women Who Run with Wolves is a really great book. I recommend it. My current read, I just finished If We Burn by Vincent Bevins. It's like a book that looks at mass protest between, I want to say 2010 to 2020, 2000 to 2020. I don't know. I just finished that book. She was a Jungian analyst. I thought so too. Turned out to be a great read. Yes. Okay. Dealing with anxiety. The way that I deal with anxiety, this is the last question before I have to leave. Basically what I did when I was okay, I'm just going to be real with you. Okay. This isn't going to work for everyone, but it's what worked for me. So when I was in the depths of my depression and anxiety, firstly, I just let myself feel shit. And then I gave myself the ick for feeling shit. I was just like, wow, this is not chic. Here I am worrying about things that I can't control and like letting it affect my day and letting it affect like my self-concept or letting it get in the way of me being able to appreciate the gift of the present moment, or getting in the way of me being able to have gratitude for the privileges that I have or the things that I have. And I just seem like an ungrateful hoe. So basically I gave myself the ick. And then I also was like, okay, now I'm going to do whatever it takes to be happy or to at least get to neutral. Okay. Because if I'm in an anxious and depressed state, you're in your flop era. Okay. You're in the downward curve. What can I do to move back up to neutral? And what can I do to experience joy again and to lift my baseline? When I'm anxious and depressed, my baseline for homeostasis has been pushed down or decreased for whatever reason. And now I need to think about what can I do to like move myself back up to a neutral place or to even move beyond a neutral place that I have never achieved before, which I actually managed to do. Okay. Because my natural state when I was younger was very pessimistic, very self-deprecating, and yeah, negative self-talk, everything. So I talk about hot girl habits. They've been tried and tested by yours truly. Meditation, journaling practice, making sure that you have boundaries around social media and your phone, making sure that you participate in some kind of physical activity on a semi-regular basis that allows you to connect to your body. Going to yoga in 5 minutes. Yeah, do things that draw you back into the present moment. Being anxious is or should not be your natural state as a person. Okay. So when you are in an anxious state more than you are a neutral state, there are things in your life that need to be addressed. Okay. Something about the way that you're living or the way that you're thinking or the relationship between the way you live and the way you think about the way you live needs to be adjusted. So you can be grateful for the signal that your mind and your body is giving you through this anxious feeling. Something needs to change in the way that you're thinking or the way that you're acting or both. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not a bad person, but getting in tune with why does this anxiety exist, or what can I do to recenter, give yourself the ick. I think the issue with a lot of like Western discourse is this obsession with diagnosis. And yes, a diagnosis is important. Identifying problems is important, but internalizing a diagnosis as like a life sentence, a diagnosis allows you to identify what a problem is so you can come up with a solution. And I think that a lot of people develop like personalities around diagnoses. And it's like, you don't have to be an anxious person. You are just experiencing anxiety and you are managing your anxiety, like changing the narrative around the diagnosis is important too, because there are many choices available to you actually in terms of how you approach it, instead of just assuming that you're doomed to this diagnosis. Growth mindset versus fixed mindset. How to be less avoidant. I feel like I'm so quick to drop people. Feels lonely. You need to befriend your inner child. Self-compassion. Journaling, meditation, even for 5 minutes in the morning and evening helps. Moving my body. Been doing shadow work. Yeah. Good morning. Okay. Thanks for joining, everyone. That was a great first attempt at YouTube and TikTok Live. Maybe like I need to move the camera so it's like I'm seeing two of myself at the same time and I'm talking to two cameras at the same time. I think Amber needs to do a video about avoidant attachment and all attachment styles. Honestly, I haven't read the book about attachment styles. I think there's so much content about it already. I don't know if I can add anything to it. Because again, I think people over-identify with diagnoses when it comes to attachment styles. I just want to be hot and have fun. Sometimes people are just annoying and it's not about being avoidant. It's just I'm avoiding bullshit. So yeah, love you guys. Thanks for tuning in. People bring out different versions of you too. Yes. Isn't attachment styles written by a guy? Men have such a singular way of thinking about their existence and like one-dimensional approach to living. But yeah, I have secure relationships with some people and I have avoidant attachments with other people because I'm like, you remind me of someone that I hate. So I don't want to be friends with you. And I don't think the outcomes of our relationship would be different if I continue to pursue this. It's just the illusion of like, maybe you can make them secure, which I don't believe in. So thank you. I'm avoidant with men, as you should be. They're not giving you any reason to trust them. Men are guilty until proven innocent. Okay, I studied law. Innocent until proven guilty only protects the people that write the law. Men. I think if we look at the state of the world, we can assume that there's no reason to be so trusting with random men that you meet. And that doesn't make you avoidant. That just gives you common sense, which is something that the world tries to take away from you as a woman. So stay strong. Stay self-compassionate. You can be kind, but you can also have boundaries. Don't let people walk all over you. Stay hot and having fun. Cute, chaotic, and critical thinking. I love you all, and I'll see you soon.